So Tracie, thanks for taking the time for this interview. I appreciate you being able to taking the time to share the knowledge. A lot of people not educated on how credit works. There's a lot of myths to be bust and things that we just don't know unless we are told from the experts. So thank you um, for taking the time. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
All right, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Um, my name is Tracie Mitchell, and I'm a credit specialist. I have been a deputy sheriff now for 21 years. I'm also a substitute teacher, which I've been doing for 5 years. Um, I've been a credit specialist for 1 year, but before I actually became a certified credit specialist, I dabbed and dabbled a little bit in the credit business, trying to repair my own credit.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a graduate of Norfolk State University and ECPI. Um, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology with a concentration in criminal justice, and I have an associate's degree from ECPI and network and security management. I started this business because I wanted to inform people about myths and things that they do not understand about credit and how to repair credit and things that they need to know when it comes to dealing with credit.
All right. So what are some common issues you notice that people have when it comes to their credit?
There are quite a few, but I'll go over a couple. Some of the most common issues that people have regarding their credit is wrong information that is placed on their credit report by the three credit bureaus. What I mean by wrong information is that the credit bureaus place accounts on people's credit that does not belong to them, or accounts that have already been paid in full, and it's showing that they still have a balance and they owe on that account. Also, when someone moves and they no longer live at an address that they lived previously, instead of the credit bureaus updating to their new address, the credit bureaus leave the old addresses on the person's credit report and also adding the new address, which also can bring a person's credit score down, because sometimes if they have an account that has been paid off, or if they owe it, it's going to be sent to that old address instead of their new address. So therefore, they're not getting that information. And therefore, if they are paying on that bill and it's sent to the old address, then that person is not knowing that that bill is being sent to that address. So they stop paying on it. And then the company will report to the credit bureau that the bill is delinquent. So that, is one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have with their credit.
And what do you think people can do to make sure that that doesn't happen to them?
What they need to do is check their credit reports on a regular basis. I would suggest checking it at least 2 or 3 times every month. I mean, you can check your report as many times as you want, without having any issues or any points taken away from your credit score.
Awesome. And so one of the big topics that I try to cover when it comes to finances is, you know, buying real estate. And so
Mhm.
unless you have the cash to pretty much buy a house, $250,000 to buy a house in cash, most people don't have that. And they need leverage. They need their credit score. And so a lot of people are kind of lost on, okay, how do I build my credit score to be able to be approved for a loan? Because I may make enough money, but what are some ways that somebody can build their credit score up?
Some ways that people can build their credit score up is by applying for secured and unsecured credit, a secured or unsecured loan. What that does for the person in order to build their credit is to show credit worthiness, that they are worthy of having the credit, and that they are worthy of being able to borrow a certain amount of money and able to pay it back. Because without credit cards or without a loan of some type of unsecured or secured loans or credit cards, it's not showing that you're credit worthy. And that's one of the myths that people have. They think that, oh, if I get a credit card, it's going to mess my credit up. What they fail to realize is that the credit card is not messing their credit up. It's messing their credit up because they do not have a credit card. And a lot of people say, oh, I'll pay with cash, but you don't realize that your credit is better than having $100,000 in cash. You have at least a 7 to 800 or plus credit score. That's better than having $100,000 in cash, because pretty much your credit is like your word. If
Okay.
you, yeah, if you have great credit, you can get anything that you like.
How long does it take for somebody to build their credit up?
Well, it actually depends on the amount of negative items that they may have on their credit. If you have quite a bit of negative items or bankruptcies or repossessions or evictions, it could take you longer than someone that does not have those, someone that may have just hospital bills or late payment um, or student loan.
Okay.
So it just depends on the person and what items that they have on their credit.
And then, so I guess so for people that, especially if they're dealing with having bad credit and trying to build it back up, what are some usually some myths that people have as far as we're trying to restore it?
Some myths that people have regarding restoring their credit is that once their credit is bad, it's going to always be bad. That's not true. It doesn't matter, because a lot of people go through life issues and it can happen to them. So we always tell people it's never too late. All you have to do is reposition yourself, reach out for the help, and then it'll come to you. All you have to do is just listen and do some of the things that you're told to do by a credit specialist or someone that can help you rebuild your credit. But the most important thing is that they need to understand that they do need credit cards or unsecured or secured credit in order to help build their credit. Also, they need to make sure that they make their payments on time.
Gotcha. And then, so some people, like those of us that listen to like Dave Ramsey about paying off debt, do you recommend that people close their accounts when they pay off their debt?
Not at all. That is one of the biggest mistakes that someone could make, because the reason why you don't want to uh, close a paid off account is because that account shows stability and it shows your credit worthiness. So if you had an account that you've had for 15 years and you close it, that's going to that can drop your score anywhere from 20 to 50 points. You never want to close an account that you've paid off,
Oof. Okay. Good to know.
because it shows that you've established credit.
Gotcha. And so when people are trying to get approved for homes, cars, even credit cards, can you explain those? I know we talked about previously soft pulls and hard pulls. Can you explain to me what a soft pull is?
Yes, a soft pull on your credit is when a person actually looks at their own credit. Going to sites like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, you can look at your own credit and see your credit score or your FICO score. And when you have a hard pull is when you are applying for a credit card or when you're trying to purchase a home or a car or anything dealing with your credit. And then a creditor have to pull your credit to see if you are worthy for them to loan to you. So a soft pull will not affect your credit, where a hard pull will drop your credit score a few points because it's being done by a creditor and not by the person themselves.
Would you happen to know what is the lowest credit score you can have to be approved for a home?
Well, it used to be they would take anyone with a 620 to 680 credit score. Now that a lot of rules have come into play with the FHA loans, some creditors are asking for a 700 or higher credit score in order to be approved for a home loan.
And so do you think the requirements and criteria will only get tighter as time goes on? Do you foresee things getting loosening up in the future, near future?
I don't think that things are going to loosen up, because now everything, even though we've had credit and credit has been used forever, but it's like now more and more things you're going to have decent credit in order to obtain things that you want in life, and some things are considered a necessity, like a vehicle, like a house. You need those things in order, to be able to live. So certain things are still or are going to become more of a necessity, and then they're going to raise. You still have to have a higher credit score in order to obtain these things.
And so with people having to, they need credit to apply for these things like big purchase items like cars and homes. What debt to income ratio do you recommend for people to keep a good credit score to be able to apply, get approved for these things, but at the same time, they're not so high in debt that they can't survive?
Well, according to whatever your credit limit is on your credit card, you should never use more than 30% of that limit. That will keep your debt to income ratio low and in a good standing. So in the event that you have to go and make a purchase and you need to borrow money, the creditors and the banks will see that this person knows how to budget their money and not going over their credit limit. Also, 15%, a lot of people don't know actually how much of a percentage of what items make up their credit score. And 35% of your credit score is made up of your payment history. And what that means, you need to make sure that all your payments are being paid, all of your accounts are in good standing and are paid on time. 15% of your credit score is made up of how long you've had an account open, which, like I said, that establishes your credit worthiness, the length of time that you've had a credit card or an unsecured loan of any type open. Like I said again, 30% of your credit is made up of your credit limit, which you do not want to use more than 30% of your credit limit. So a lot of people don't realize those items make up how your credit score is determined. So if you're under or if you're over those percentages, then yes, you will have a lower credit score.
Before you broke that down, you talked about budgeting. And so to my understanding, your company provides a budgeting service?
Yes, our company provides 12 different services. Um, the first one is the credit restoration, of course. Um, we have another service that we have the credit attorneys, because with our company, I am not the actual person that will be working on the person's credit. I work with the attorneys. The attorneys are the ones who actually do the footwork pretty much to make up the dispute letters and send them out to the customer. We also have credit monitoring, identity monitoring. We have a budgeting tool. We have a debt payoff tool. We also provide the service of a will and trust. So if someone does not have their will and trust, our company also provides that within the services that are being paid for on a monthly basis. And that's just a few of them. We also have a YFL Mint. What that is that's the company's way of giving back. The company gave over $400,000 in scholarships to seniors and upcoming freshmen for the 2020 school year that just begun. So we do have where we teach literacy. We go to the schools and we teach financial literacy to students from the 8th through 12th grade. So that way, because it's not being taught in school, we feel that that is our obligation to educate our kids and our future, because back when I was in school, we weren't taught financial literacy.
Exactly.
Everything that I've learned, it came from my own research. So I would love to make sure that our youth is being taught financial literacy so that they don't encounter a lot of the problems that people of my age or my generation have had to deal with concerning their credit.
Yes, because we definitely had to figure out as we went along. And same for me, when I
Exactly.
went to school, we didn't learn about any of that stuff. I think the closest I did was learn how to write a check.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so at what point do you teach these kids? Is during their homeroom? Is this an after school program?
Well, no, it's actually incorporated. We'll go in and they'll have like the students in the gym, and it's pretty much incorporated into their lesson for the day.
Wow.
Kind of like everyone goes to the gym and we have the monitors up and just go through some things. And then we give them some literature to take back with them so that they can read over it. And they also have, information if they need to ask questions, how they can get in touch with the person that was at that particular school. Because right now, I'm trying to teach my daughter. It's hard, but it's something that she needs to learn.
And for everybody to hear, what is the name of your company and where can they find it at?
United Credit Education Services,
Okay.
and they can they can go online, or they can give me a call and I can explain more information to them if they are interested in enrolling into the program. I can get them started.
Even for the scholarships as well.
Yes, all that is under what we have is called our protection plan. And everything that I mentioned, the credit attorneys, the credit monitoring, the identity monitoring, the UYFL Mint for kids, the will and trust, the budgeting, the debt payoff, all that is all the services that they will get under their protection plan.
And so one thing that I talked about in one of my early episodes is that even though everybody has different walks of life and it is harder for some to be successful in life, there are ways to be successful. It's just that we are not exposed to certain things like other communities or other people may be. And so you are providing that exposure to give them that head start, or really that regular running start that other people that usually get. And so how well do you feel like the kids receive that? Do you see like the reception, like, I'm really glad I'm listening to this and I'm learning this because I don't learn this at home, or do they feel like it's more of a classroom setting, or they feel like I'm glad I got introduced to this because I didn't know anything about a loan or how that works?
I think it's a mixture of all of those. I think you have the older kids, more like the junior, seniors, that are more into it because they know that their time is getting real close, that they're going to be out there in the real world, and that they're going to have to start providing for themselves at some point. But the younger kids, they listen, but I really don't think that all of them are receiving it and understanding actually. But like I said, I think more so the 11th and 12th graders are pretty much more interested, shall I say, in the topic because they know, you know, especially the seniors, they know, okay, you're getting ready to graduate high school, you're about to be in college. So, and like I always tell them, you get ready to go to college, you will be getting a lot of credit card applications because that's when I got most of my credit applications
Yeah.
when I was in college. And really, I didn't know really anything about it. So yeah, I was applying for these cards, I was getting these cards, and I'm just charging. Then you have to pay, and then you're sitting and you're looking like, well, I have to pay all this money back. They tell you, they'll give you the cards, but they don't tell you the consequences that comes with it if you misuse it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They get these credit cards and they misuse them, and then they can't pay it back, and that's when they start running into trouble.
Yes, because telling yourself no is a big issue a lot of people have,
Mhm.
and especially at a young age, because you see a bunch of other people somehow, some way, they are able to afford the nice things that they have. Um,
Exactly.
and you're like, oh, okay, they're 18, 19 years old. I see what they're Jordan's nice car. Oh, I got a credit card. Let me swipe that up. And then they probably have a job maybe at Wendy's and can't keep up with their spending. And then they're waiting
Exactly.
on their income tax, the refund check that all college kids get to go either
Mhm.
pay their debts off or spend some more of that too. And so I really appreciate what you're doing because that is very impactful. And it's actually broadening my mind on a different way to impact the kids because they are the next generation. Um,
Mhm.
Amir and I talk about how like it's really hard to get adults out of their habits, right?
Mhm.
But to get a kid before they even get started, um, I think it's a lot easier, and it does set up the future, for because I mean the future is paramount to us being because we're gonna be old one day, so we need somebody to take
Exactly.
care of. um, Well, do you recommend parents starting their kids' credit before they turn 18, like putting a credit card in their kid's name at the age of 14 to kind of get their credit built up so when they're 18, 19, they have good credit?
I do. I've done that for my daughter, and what I would recommend them do is not to just get them a card in their name, but to add them to one of their credit cards, so that way it'll start building their credit. And also, I would recommend that parents check their children's credit score. You can check your kid's credit score, because identity theft is one of the number one, um, cyber crimes and things that are going on
Hmm.
today, because so many people, number one, are out of work. Some people just, they're just evil like that, and they just looking for a way to get information. So if they get your child's credit card, social security number, they can wreak havoc on that child's credit even before their credit gets started. So I would suggest, instead of getting them a credit card, because really, if they're under 18, they're not going to be able to get their own credit card anyway. So I would suggest just adding them to one of the parents' credit cards, and let them start to build their credit that way.
Okay, and you bring up a good point because that's not something I even thought about was checking your kids' credit score before they turn 18, before they've opened anything up, because identity theft is a problem. And yeah, your 18-year-old could be like, hey, trying to get something basic, and then they realize, they get declined. Like, why? I just started. And it's somebody's been using their credit this whole time.
Exactly.
Uh,
And I had an incident where, one of my clients, that happened to her son, and he's only, I think he said he's 16 or 17. And I told her the same thing when she was trying to get her credit straight. I said, hey, have you ever thought about checking your son's credit? She was like, for what? He doesn't have any credit cards. I said, okay, I understand that, but he has a social security number. So she went and checked his credit, and she saw some things up there, like a phone bill, a light bill, that she didn't do. She doesn't know who did it. So I told her, I said, now is the time for you to go ahead and start working on trying to get those items removed from his credit. And she was like, well, how can I do that? I said, all you have to do, you can call the credit bureaus and talk to them, because when these accounts were made, your child was only a year old. So, of course, a child at 1 year old cannot have a Dominion Power light bill.
mhm.
So I told her, it wouldn't be that hard to get those items off, because of the fact that he was only a year old. And all she had to do was provide proof of his date of birth and information that way, so that they could go ahead and remove those items from, um, his credit report.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. One
But
years
I
old,
just,
right out the gate.
right. So somebody somewhere had his social. I don't know how they received it or how they got it, but they used his social to open up several accounts and then did not pay them. So
So I have a
that's one of the
question.
things I suggest. Hmm.
So when it comes to situations like that, are there a lot of more cases of people not able to expunge their record than there are those that can with situations like that?
Um, I'm not too too sure, because I haven't had a lot of cases like that. But I feel like if they provide the correct information, that the credit bureaus will work with them, because it actually, when we work, our company, we use the Fair Credit Act of 1971, which states that the credit bureaus cannot put anything on your credit report that you haven't signed for. So if it's not yours, then they can't keep it on your credit report. So
Okay.
because they have to ask you, people that this is another thing that people didn't know. Credit bureaus have to ask you to place items on your credit report, which they never do. So if you have an account that's on your credit and it's not yours, and the credit bureau didn't call you and say, hey, we're going to put this on your credit report, then you're not responsible for that bill. So that's what I let her know. you're not going to have to pay anything because for one, too, your son was only a year old. They never said anything. Of course, they didn't say anything to you or your son because it wasn't neither one of you who used that account. So, I mean, if they can prove, if the person can prove or say, okay, they never called me and said that they were going to place this on my credit report, they're not responsible for that bill.
And I guess that's why it's key that they had their updated address and you're always checking, because she would have gotten that in the mail.
Yep,
Correct? Okay.
correct.
I just want to make sure I'm tracking. She would have at least got a notification her 1-2-year-old had some type of loan or credit card in their name, and then she would have been able to dispute it. Um, okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense because for one, and you already tacking this. You're making sure that these teenagers are stepping into the world and making sure they have a head start. The first thing we want to do is protect our kids and make sure that they have that too, and to already have them to work on all these things, and then little did you know is that their credit is being torn to shreds before they even get started. They could have
Mm,
50 grand saved up, but a lot of that doesn't mean a hill of beans if their credit score is 200.
exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
I don't want to undersell or how much value I think what you're doing, and because it's in the Hampton Roads areas where you're mainly at.
Well, we have people all over. I mean, all over the United States.
Nice.
I'm an agent in the Hampton Roads area. But my business partner, they're located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's awesome.
it's
Because
all over.
I think this is not it's not as talked about as much as it should be, because I guess it takes time, right? It's patience. You're
Yeah,
teaching people, kids that don't know anything about this concept. At least if you're teaching adults, they understand the value of a dollar and that it can be spent very quickly. At least know that much.
hmm,
That they learned a lot from the mistakes that they've already made. When you're teaching kids straight up, they don't know. They're just like, hey, mom, why can't you give me this PlayStation? They don't understand how long it took to make that money and what they had to do to get it. So
exactly.
I really appreciate you doing this, because I think this will make parents take a step back and look at how are they preparing their kids for the future. Are they educating them on credit, buying a home, car? What's a good debt to income ratio? How to check their credit report? Because I work with a lot of people that have kids that are in college or about to be graduating from high school,
Hmm.
and I see some of the financial decisions they decide to make, and we talk about what they do with their family, and I think about that, like, okay, how prepared is your kid? Because us being in the Navy, a lot of us joined at 18. And so
Hmm.
the Navy kind of tells us how to live, but the only thing they do not tell us is how to spend our money, unless we find a command financial specialist. But it's not as advertised as much, uh, I think, as it should be, because I think a lot of kids are still making a lot of mistakes.
Hmm.
But it kind of it goes back to home. How were they taught at home? Because I see some people that join the
Right.
Navy and they got it down pat, because their parents had told them, hey, 10% into investments, manage your credit, debt income ratio has to stay between 10 and 15%. And for a lot of people too, they don't get certain security clearances or certain jobs in the Navy if their debt to income ratio is not a particular percentage. And so for those guys, they're pretty generally good about it, because that affects your security clearance and your job. And a lot of them try to
Hmm.
hold on to the security clearance when they get out the Navy. So it's a big deal to them. Um, and so I like what you're doing too, because I try to translate what you're teaching to at my command, and
Hmm.
it ended up being very receptive, because there was a lot of little things that people just don't know, but they'd be
Hmm.
more than willing to do it. It's just that you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in the exposure piece. They're not people. I don't think the world is full of people that just don't want to learn. It's just that if you're not exposed to it and you don't have if you don't have that channel on your TV, you don't have that access on the internet of what usually pops up, because Google hears things and it knows
Right.
what you like to look up. So if I like world sports, and that's all Google's going to show me, it's not going to show me any finances or how to increase my credit,
Hmm.
right? So some people are just not exposed to that, even on the internet level, when even though internet can provide anything, information on everything. Um,
Hmm.
and so that's pretty cool what you're doing. And so, and what do you see yourself doing moving forward to expand or to kind of advance what you're doing with the community and the business?
Well, in the business, I would like to move forward because also with our business, I am looking for other agents that will be interested in also in helping the community and getting this information out there. Um, just somebody that's coachable that wants to learn because this is also can be treated as your home-based business. You get your LLC and have your own home-based business. Also, with me here in Virginia, I would like to get out more into the community and just teach what people don't know. Because, like you said, you find out, you talk to people, and if they're not exposed to it, they just don't know. And then they, a lot of times, they don't even know where to go to get help. They don't know how to go about getting help. So with this information being put out there, it's giving them an avenue that they could use in order to help them repair their credit. Also educate them on what they need to do in order to keep their credit in a good standing once they have repaired their credit. So I
Yeah.
just
Okay.
want to be able to teach whoever I can, whoever's willing to listen and learn.
And so, is that why you're a substitute teacher? Because you love to teach?
Yeah, I love to teach. And actually, it's crazy because the way that I got into substitute teaching, I was in the department called community affairs at the sheriff's office, and what that was, just as the name says, community affairs. We went out into the community. We did things in the community through the sheriff's office, and I loved it. I just love being out in the community talking to people. We would do kid prints. We would do webinars, seminars. At the time, we really didn't do webinars because we could go in person, but we did a lot of seminars, things that we did like with the elderly, where we taught them different things that they needed to know to help them. Because at one point, there was always a scam going on with the elderly where people were scamming them out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we got with them and taught them what they needed to do in order to protect themselves from that. So we went to a school and I was approached by one of the teachers and she asked, would I be interested in substitute teaching? So I was like, well, never thought of it, but I'll give it a try. I did, and 5 years later, I'm still doing it. So it's actually fun because I love kids. I love kids.
Clearly, and this is something that you have to have a passion for. You can't fake this, caring about your community and caring about the future generation. And I think that's the difference between people that end up being an impact and those that are just kind of selling it. They're just kind of checking in. And I think the kids
Hmm.
could tell, right? Like, oh, this person, this teacher, they care. And so I feel a little obligated to give something a little back because this person is very invested in me and in this, what she believes in this program. And it make believers out of people. I feel like, even though they would probably not even thinking twice about it, or maybe even like, that's not for me, which would be
Hmm.
crazy, right? Why financial stability is not for somebody, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And the crazy thing, even before I got with the company, I was helping some of my coworkers because I have a lot of coworkers that, that have poor credit, and a lot of them were trying to buy homes and they couldn't qualify because they were, they had some of them had 400, 500 credit scores, and I was like telling them, look, this is some of the stuff that I learned on my own by doing research to improve my credit. So those things that I learned, I was teaching them so that they could go ahead and pull up their credit score, do what they needed to do to get their credit score back up so that they could purchase that home. And then when I found this company, it just really like sank in like this was something that you was already doing. So why wouldn't you, work with a company to offer people even more services than what I could offer, which was really just information that I knew. It wasn't like the services, the will and trust, which is a big thing. I didn't know how to do a will and trust, but now I do. So it's just a lot of things some things that I already knew before I started working with the company, and then a lot of things I've learned since I've been with the company.
So we talked about credit for your kids, making sure that you build that up and watch that for them. We talked about make sure we educate them so that when they become adults, they're good to go. So a lot of this ties in with generational wealth. And
Yes.
I think order for in order for you to kind of understand like, hey, this is how important this all is, you kind of have to see like the bigger picture. And so that's what I've noticed that you see the bigger picture and how everything ties in together. And so when it comes to, do you feel like this educating these young kids on this will, maybe out of 100, maybe 2 to 10 will understand the concept and take generational wealth and kind of skyrocket with it? Do you? I don't know. You don't have a crystal ball, but you know.
That is what my hope is. To have more younger kids understanding the importance of credit, the importance of generational wealth, and how to maintain that and how to obtain that. And my thing, that speaking for myself and my daughter, like I told her, I'm working hard now so that you don't have to work as hard. I can pass down my business to you, and you can continue on with, you know, with the credit business if that's something that you want to do. But I want to make sure that I set her up for success in the future.
Mhm.
And I also want to be able to set up other kids that may want to go the route of being an entrepreneur and having that generational wealth. I would like to set them up so that they will know this is what you need to do in order to obtain that goal.
So okay, so you spoke about your daughter and passing that down. And so and what everybody's not going to be able to replicate, your business. What are some recommendations you have for people that could help them start some type of generational wealth for their kids?
I would say do something that you would enjoy doing, because if it's something that you don't enjoy, you may not be as successful as you could be if it was something that you did enjoy. Have fun with it, because if you can't be all work and no play. You have to have fun with it, and explain it to your kids. Get your kids involved so that they will know, this is what I'm trying to do for you in order to help you succeed, and you know not have to worry about anything once you get older.
Yes.
So
And that's a big
that
thing
that would be
because
my recommendation.
yeah, because a lot of people they end up working until they die or versus
Mhm.
because they want to. And that's what I see a lot of people 70, 80 years old working because they have to. And I want to relax when I get older, and
Yeah.
I want to be that grandparent that can able. I'm already show to all the games, and
Mhm.
that's a big thing to me because your family and spending time with them, I think is the true investment. The money is just
Right.
we use as a tool to be able to obviously eat, live, do the things that we do, but you can't take back time missed with family trying to chase the
Right.
dollar. So I think it's big that people get to understand the concept of passive income and
Mhm.
building that wealth because we how many times I could think of like where I've had like, son, hey, I can't do that right now, daddy's got to go to work, or like for me, I just came
Right.
back from deployment, so I miss
Mhm.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and his birthday.
Mm.
And so when I think about it like that, I'm like, I'd rather be at home, building up my residual income, passive income, and be able to have to spend that time with him because that's what matters. I'll never be able to get that back. You know,
Right.
now we make more money on deployment, but as you hear, all money ain't good money.
Exactly. I hear that all the time because, for me, I still have a full-time job, where on my full-time job I work 13 hours a day. So I do have the the opportunity to work part-time, which I have a lot of part-time jobs that have come my way, and I just had to say no because, first of all, I need to be home to spend some time with my daughter. Second of all, like you just said, all money is not good money. So you just have to, with me, I have to pick and choose what I'm going to do. And then I also have to pick and choose too when, if I'm working part time somewhere else, that's less time that I have to put into my business. And for me, trying to build my business is what is going to sustain me once I retire. Because I already have my retirement date set for June 1st of 2024. So therefore, I would like for my business to, be in a good place at that time so that I can retire. Because like you said, I don't want to be working until I'm 60, 70 years old. That is just not a good look for me. That's just not something that I want to do. So in order for me to build my business, that means I have to put time in. And in order for me to put time in, that means I can't be working a whole lot of part-time elsewhere, knowing that I have a 13-hour full-time job that I still have to do.
Yes. And so it's good to know. So it's good to know somebody else is as ambitious as me because I gave myself to 2023, and it's the year when Amira retires. So that's my aggressive goal to be financially free, and hopefully I could get out as well and be free. So
Mm,
hopefully I see you around 2023, 2024, and we both meet
exactly.
our goals together. So yeah.
Yes.
It's like when you think about, so I know for me, like I think about 2023 is right around the corner because 2020 is almost over. And so
Yes.
like as time goes, it's almost a little intimidating because you're like, can I really do this? And I think
Mm-hmm.
when you put your first foot down and you start doing it, you're like, oh, okay, I got this. And you look back and you look and see how much you accomplish, and you're like, oh wow, okay, I could do this. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from meeting a lot of their goals is just making
Mm-hmm.
that first step. And you may fall, you may fail a couple times and get rejected. I know my first wholesale deal I thought I was gonna have. The guy, called him. We agreed on a price. I sent him over the agreement so I could make my $5,000, and then I never heard from him again. I'm like, okay. So, and then instantly I could have been like, all right, I give this up. I give it up. But it was really only like, I think I was like, I only had 85 leads before met my first guy that sat and talked to me. And so a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
recommend, hey, you need to at least do 200. So I think I try to think with the glass half full to keep me going. And so I think with people having aggressive goals, it's possible if they keep up with it and keep that negativity out of there. And so
Exactly.
appreciate the
Like I
positivity.
tell, like I tell my agents that sign up under me, they were like, well, they said call them back and they were going to sign up, but then I called them back. They didn't answer the phone. I tell them you have to work this business without putting your personal feelings or getting upset. Because if somebody tells you you can have, like I said, like 10 leads, out of those 10 leads, 9 of them will tell you, okay, yeah, call me back tomorrow and I'll sign up. You call them back, maybe one out of that 9 will sign up. But the thing is, you keep going. You keep going. You can't let those 9 people that decided not to sign up stop you. You can't let them frustrate you. And sometimes it is frustrating because I've had to rebuild my business. But at the same time, you rebuild and you keep going. You can't stop because if it's something that you really want to do and you want to be successful at it, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna fall. You're gonna have times where you're not successful in a pay period or a week or what have you. But the thing about it is you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back at it. Because everybody is not gonna sign up. Everybody is not gonna be gun ho about trying to fix their credit as I am. And like I tell people, I'm always gun ho because it does something to me when I have a client that texts me and shows me my credit score just went up 89 points
Oof,
from using the
that's
system.
nice.
Yeah. I had one client, her score went up 232 points. And actually, it is posted on my Facebook page. I mean, they will send me, because a lot of people, of course, they think it's a scam. Oh, it's a scam, it's a scam. Okay. If that's how you feel, I understand, but I thank you for taking the time to talk to me. If you would like, you can follow me, on Instagram or my Facebook page where you can start to see results of people that are actually in the program. And a lot of people that have seen that said that it was a scam, now they're calling, getting signed up for the program. And I'm like, it, sometimes it just takes people a while to come around to maybe see some success that others are having before they actually put their best foot forward. And I don't hold it against them. Like I said, you just gotta keep on grinding and keep going.
That reminds me of a book that my son's reading right now about it's a kid version of how to become an entrepreneur or what an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
is. And on the second page, it said rejection is a necessary evil for an entrepreneur to be successful. And me and him, I told him to pause for a minute, and we talked about that. And I explained to him, that builds adversity, and adversity makes you stronger. And so these people
Mm-hmm.
that were saying that it was a scam, you kept it pushing, and look, they turned around and became believers, and now they are part of the program. And so,
Mm-hmm.
trying to teach him that at a young age. Okay, you got the first no. Okay, how do you find a yes? And you have that down pat, because even adults have a problem with that.
Yeah.
There's a kid, because he's like 25 by now, that is really doing really well with real estate in the Hampton Roads area,
Mm-hmm.
and he just recently moved though, but he started off in Hampton Roads, and there was a lot of young people that, like, wow, you're like, at the time he was like 20, 21, and there was a lot of 17, 18 year olds like that were about to turn 18. Hey, I want to get like you. How do you do that? And they'll say, he'll say, go knock on 100 doors and ask people if they want to buy their home. And a lot of people, 99% of them didn't do it because they didn't want rejection. They want to be told like, oh, get out of here, or no, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to sell my home. And then the one person that did, eventually you'll get your yes, and then that
Yeah.
deal will boost your confidence. And it's funny how when one opportunity, or if you make an opportunity for yourself, others just happen to come. And I think a lot of people don't realize that positive energy, those opportunities open other doors, and then before you know it, you see these people that's like, wow, like all these good things keep happening to them.
Exactly. Exactly. And they wonder like, how are you making that happen? What are you doing? What do you have to do to get that? You just have to have an open mind and be positive and keep your feelings out of it. Some people, I've had agents that have quit on me. And like I said, that's what I mean by I have to rebuild, because if I get an agent that quit, I have to rebuild and find someone that will take that person's place, because you can't just think that because, okay, they keep telling me no, they keep telling me no, they keep telling me no. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get it. You just have to put your hat on and say, okay, they told I got 10 no's, but I'm gonna keep pushing until I get that one yes. And once I get that one yes, you're like you said, your confidence is built up. Then you're you're more willing to talk to more people, because you have to talk to people in order to build your business. Because without the
Understandable.
people, you can't build your business.
So, Tracie,
Yes,
what is your rich state of mind?
my rich state of mind, first of all, is my daughter. Everything I do for her. Also, my rich state of mind is wanting to be able to educate as many youth, as many people in the community as possible, on how to obtain generational wealth. Um, I just want to be able to just to see our communities grow, see our young people grow in a way that they will be successful in whatever they choose to do. So that's my rich state of mind.
And I think you're doing a great job doing that. And I hope that this inspires people to dig deep and, like I said, take a step back and look and see what they're doing with their kids, or for some people that are teachers. Um, my father, he's been a teacher for about 25 years now, and
Okay.
I've seen how he's been able to impact kids outside academically,
Hmm.
because you do end up touching them, in a special way, in their hearts, because they'll remember you years later. because I've met people that are 30, my age, 30, 32 years old, and they still remember, hey, Mr. Ritchie. And so I think, you know, what you're doing, they're always going to remember, like, oh, I remember doing that class, you know.
Mhm.
And, you know, if they see you out in town, they're probably going to be like, "Ah, thank you so much for what you did," because you're going to see them with their kids. And they're
Right.
going to be like, you changed my life, because I wouldn't be able to take care of my family the way I am now if it wasn't for your course. So I think you're doing a great job. I really appreciate you and what you're doing in Hampton Roads. I'm not from Hampton Roads, but it's in my heart though, because I've been out here for so long. So
Right.
I care about it. I do care about the, you know, the area, especially our, you know, our community. So thank you for taking the time for being up here, seriously. And I definitely look forward to chatting it up some more with you.
You are more than welcome anytime. Thank you for allowing me to share some information and knowledge on your platform. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.